There she is. All right, good morning. Welcome to last day of November. We're going to start a standing practice week today. And we're just going to kind of ease into it. Today, this week, I decided we'd focus a lot on balancing with our standing practice based on my quarantine experience of watching a ton of Survivor and really noticing how people's balance break down when it's not prioritized. So we're going to just kind of work with some various standing balancing poses, but we're going to prep for that with some reclining work and some kind of kneeling work. So that's the lay of the land. So take your dominant cross-legged position and just take a moment to adjust so that you feel really kind of like you're sitting here with intention and you're feeling aligned and spacious. Finding your shoulders moving right above the hips and creating length between the hip crests and the armpits, just lifting the whole torso as if you're being helped by a rope at the top of your head. And then see if you can keep the spread of the chest as you join the hands in front of the heart and close the eyes. And just let your gaze point down towards your cheeks. And start to tune into the seated position that you've created. And just make maybe some finely tuned adjustments to really become more efficient so that we're not exerting more than needed. You scan your body for tension that you're arriving with this morning from your head all the way to your feet. And just sit with your breath, the rhythm as it comes and goes, not trying to alter your breath in any way. Just being attentive to the spontaneous breathing. If there's any tension that's collecting in your face, just try to gently release, letting the face soften. As you're ready, bowing toward your heart, but keeping the chest really lifted and spread. Release your hands. And as you're ready, lift the head. Let your eyes come gently open. And good morning and welcome. Wow, the bowl is really singing this morning. We're going to come onto our backs. And if you need a little head support, put a blanket down for your head. And we'll use the strap. We're going to go into our hand to big toe series so that we can really get our legs kind of supple for those standing balancing poses. We're setting ourselves up for success. We're going to do the 4 hand to big toe poses on each side, starting with our right leg. Because I want to face you guys, I'm going to put my head up here. So just begin on your back with both legs extended. Take a moment to lift the buttocks away from the floor, move the flesh of the buttocks towards the feet. And just let the floor align your body. Let your body sink into the floor and into its own natural alignment. You can get a really easy kind of through line of the central axis and the alignment just by lying on the floor flat. And now we're going to grab the right foot and take hold closer to the ball mounds which is where we go when we want to work more muscle, which today is kind of the intention so that we can have the suppleness we need to perform these balancing poses in a way that's graceful and intelligent. So once you have the right foot, you can extend your left leg. And the first thing you're going to do is find your straight right leg, which might mean you have to take the leg away from the torso. And then you're going to kind of draw the leg into the hip socket. So you're just kind of pulling gently. And then just begin to play with reaching the heel slightly toward the ceiling and the toes toward yourself. And try to hold the strap in a way that your shoulders are not curling off the floor. So you're keeping the spread of the chest and shoulders really intact. As the leg begins to become more supple and elongate, you might be able to guide the leg closer, but watch that your knee doesn't start to bend. Be attentive to your left leg as well. So remember, this is a reclining version of a standing pose. So put your left leg in standing position. That would be your foot that's on the floor. So the toes should be right above the heel. And you're trying to minimize the space between the left leg and the floor. So you're compacting the leg to the floor. Just a few more breaths here. Think about rolling the outer hip away from your shoulder line. And keeping the right side body long. So to come into Padangusthasana 2, we're going to move the leg laterally now. This will be kind of a shape that's going to help us for triangle pose and half moon pose. So you'll take both straps into your right hand, wrap the straps to conserve your energy so you don't have to grip and squeeze and waste your energy that way. And you can unfold your left arm out to the side perpendicular from the trunk so you have some counterweight. And again, you're finding your straightest leg. Hopefully you're still there. And you're kind of moving the foot towards the hip socket so that you can really feel the engagement of the femur head into the socket joint. Exhale, start to move the leg to the right, but you're going to really limit how far you go. You're going to try to keep your left side body as it was. So if you're starting to peel away from the floor, guide your right leg back until you've kind of mastered that balance of staying very anchored to your left side. And as you continue to open through the right groin, the right hip. And remember that left leg would be holding you. You're standing on that left leg like in a half moon pose. So you want to really have the left leg in the wise actions. Again, if you feel any bunching or shortness to your right side body, try to roll the outer right hip away from the trunk. Keep kind of pulling on the foot. You're going to exhale to start to guide the leg back to center. Good. And now we're going to twist a little bit. So you're going to take your strap with your left hand, wrap the hand again so you conserve your energy. Step your left foot to the floor so your knee is bent. And lift your hips enough that you can tuck your left hip under you, your right hip over, and take the right leg all the way to the left. Extend the left leg so you're resting on the outer left foot. Unfold your right arm. And just let's take 5 exhales to roll the outer right ribs back toward the floor as you reach out, as you extend through the right foot. Again, you're working with a straight right leg. And now we'll come back to center. So it might help to bend the right knee, but also bend the left knee and step down with the left foot and prop your right ankle on your left thigh. You can take the strap onto your belly. Okay, so we'll come into the fourth Padangusthasana just kind of incrementally. So starting with your left foot grounded, extend your right hand, and just every time you exhale, just give a little pressure to the inner right knee. You're just kind of getting a baseline for kind of how springy that hip is. If the hip is springy, it's kind of tight and resistant. As it starts to kind of open, you're going to see that the knee doesn't spring right back when you let go. You're going to start to soften the hip space. So just take a few moments to always make an assessment. We don't want to be assuming anything is true in the body. We want to make a really fresh assessment. And if you find that you're ready for a little more sensation, you're going to pick up the left foot and either take the hands over the left shin or behind the left thigh. Maybe using the right elbow to kind of gently keep that pressure on the inner knee. Every time you exhale, squeeze the legs toward you. Inhale, just kind of let the legs float away so there's space for the diaphragm to expand with breath. So this one here, this Padangusthasana will help us with our tree pose. We're going to do tree pose when we get up to standing. Tree pose doesn't get very far if the hips aren't ready. And then one more exhale here. If this is kind of right at your edge, you're going to stay here and just continue here. Otherwise, you're going to grab hold of the outer right ankle with your left hand. Let your left foot come down and extend the leg. And then with your right hand, hold the outer right knee. And guide the whole right shin to the left until you see the middle of the shin bone lines up with your breastbone. And you might just kind of hold and breathe. You might add a little pressure to the inner knee, pushing there as you draw the outer ankle toward you to really encourage the hip opening, but sometimes we don't need that much. You might do a little bit of a rocking. See if the hip responds well to that. And then without the strap, just grab hold of the back of that right thigh with both hands and extend your leg one last time just to take care of any knee misalignment that might have occurred there with the hip opener. And you can step down with your right foot and take hold of your left foot, again, closer to the ball mounds. Once you have the left leg overhead, you can extend your right leg. And just begin to kind of find that placement of your leg in space so that it's straight, which might mean you have to back off away from the torso. Do your best to resist the shoulders down, even though they want to peel off the floor. And it's very kind of tempting for that outer left hip to hike up. So just roll the flesh of the outer left hip away from the shoulder line. Kind of an inverted warrior 3 here. Again, consider your right leg. Would it hold you standing if you were standing? And let your left hand take both straps now. Wrap both so you can kind of keep the hand happy there. And unfold your right arm to the side. And really observe your right side body as you exhale and start to guide the left leg to the left. Make sure you're keeping that left leg straight. The shoulders should feel even, the hips should feel even, the sacrum should be evenly pressured against the floor. Feeling your triangle here, feeling your balancing half moon. With a nice awareness of where the leg meets the floor, exhale to bring the left leg back and let your right hand take the straps. Step your right foot to the floor as you help your hips transition to that stacked position. So left hip over right, you're going to guide your left leg to the right. Once you have that left leg down or where it's going to be, you might need to prop it, you can extend your right leg. So your legs should look pretty perpendicular to each other. If unfolding the left arm is aggravating or kind of premature, then just drape the left hand over the side ribs. And you can look up toward the ceiling or over to the left. But be attentive to both legs. We aren't going to do this pose today, but this is like our revolving triangle or revolving half moon. And now to prepare to exit here, just kind of soften your knees. You might be able to step your right foot down and you can prop that left outer ankle on your right thigh. Just put your strap aside. Extending your left hand, just getting a little pressure to the inner knee, keeping right foot down for the first few moments here, just kind of making an assessment, seeing how the left hip responds, not assuming it's the same as the right. Oftentimes the hips are not mirroring each other with their tension patterns. And then if you feel like you're ready to move on, then you would lift that right foot from the floor and either grab behind the thigh or in front of the shin. And then continue to kind of hug those legs toward you with each exhale. And again, if you feel like it's maybe time to just invite a little bit more sensation, you will free the right foot back to the floor. You'll grab hold of that left outer ankle with your right hand, just supporting it. And then same with the knee with your left hand. You can extend your right leg. Move that left shin so it's lining up, center the shin with the breastbone. So you're going to move that shin for most of us to the right. And you might, every exhale, hug the leg in. You might kind of just hold where you're feeling good sensation. You might rock. And you might add that little kind of resistance to the inner knee as you invite the ankle toward you. So encouraging that rotation. It just depends what your body is up for. Take 1 or 2 good breaths into that hip space, wherever you are. Deep inhale, deep exhale. And then we're going to raise the left leg just to take care of the knee. You can just clasp behind the thigh and again find that straight leg, the heel pressing up, the toes pulling toward you, shoulders staying down. Good. Go ahead and take the foot to the floor. Return to Tadasana, Supta Tadasana, just for a moment. You don't have to activate your legs, just kind of take a few breaths. And after the Padangusthasana series, I feel like it's such a wonderful feeling of spaciousness in the body. I just feel like my legs vibrating, my feet, really good way to prepare for standing practice. We're going to transition to some gate poses to keep preparing. So roll to your side. After you've been reclining for a long time, it's best to move to your side first. And then feel free to grab your blanket and just have it in the center of the mat for the knees. And we are going to work with a block, and we'll put it off to the right. And you may additionally want to have a block off to the left because we are going to do a modified side plank pose just to get some nice spaciousness to the side body, which is important for all of our poses, but especially triangle pose and half moon pose. So we'll start by kneeling on that blanket, stepping the right foot so that the right heel shows up in line with the right knee and the right heel shows up in line with the left knee. The first thing we're going to do is just adding that pressure to the inner knee. Just kind of putting like a stopper there. And you're going to press your knee into your hand. You can put your left hand on your hip. You can pull the left elbow toward midline just to keep the chest lifted and spread. We're just kind of training the knee to stay in alignment. Remember the action of rolling the buttock forward as you take the knee back. This is again going to help our tree pose. It's going to help our triangle pose. These are lateral poses. Think about your hip points against a pane of glass. You want to make sure the right hip point is as pressured against the glass pane, imaginary glass pane, as the left. So you're doing a lot of work to roll the buttock under to keep that right hip point forward. Just taking it a step farther now, we're going to use the block. The block goes inside the foot, so right in front of the foot. Any height you need, you don't know yet maybe, so just pick one and adjust if necessary. So now the arm is kind of pressing against the leg. So really kind of form a relationship there, pressing both into each other. Keep rolling that right buttock under. Keep rolling the left shoulder back. Don't let your head drop. Remember, the crown represents the line of energy of the spine. If the shoulder allows, you can sweep the arm up and align the arm with the side of the head. See if you can kind of magnetize your left ear to the inner left arm. So this can be a big one to exit from. You might need to turn toward the floor to come out safely. Otherwise, see if you can inhale and lift yourself upright. And now we're going to place that left hand down on the block so that it's right in line with the shoulder. You can extend your right foot out so you're resting on the instep of the foot. The foot is in alignment with the knee if you were to line things up here. You may not need that block, so always, don't use propping if it's not necessary. And then you're going to, again, sweep the arm up in line with the ear. And see if you can just direct the outer skirting of the right foot toward the floor. It's very kind of subtle action, but it represents energy direction, which is very informative to the body, which cleans up a lot of issues and poses. Big breaths opening the right side body. That right ear magnetized to the inner right arm. Move the tailbone into the body for support. And we're not going to come out of this one by coming up. We're going to gently ease toward the floor and come into child's pose. So safely kind of turn toward the floor. You can arrange your knees on your blanket so they're wide, and then sit back and rest in child's pose. Prop your forehead if you need. When you feel ready, you're going to kind of set up side two. So I just know I need taller on my gate pose size and lower on my plank side. That might be true for you too, but just know that it's personalized, customized to whatever you need. And we're going to set up the left foot. Now, the toes should point out to the left. Heel lines up with the knee. Heel lines up also with the left knee. Pressure to the inner knee here. Right hand can be on the hip. Elbow kind of pins in so it's hidden. Helps you move the shoulder blade toward the chest. Move the tailbone in. Lengthening the groin region. Rolling the left buttock under. Think about the hip points on one single pane. We don't want to be rotating the hips. You're really kind of keeping constant effort and awareness on keeping left hip point forward. So we're kind of priming the hip and the groin, and now we're going to take it a step farther, planting the hand, now pinning the arm and leg together, roll that left buttock under, and then again, if the shoulder allows, you're taking kind of that side angle arm, where the arm continues the line of the side body. It's an extension of that energy line, straight up through the fingertips. Rolling or pinning that left shoulder blade toward the chest, guiding that right shoulder back, rolling the left buttock toward the front body. Good. And inhale, come up. If the block was too low there, like personally, I've been feeling a lot of cramping in my body. I did a lot of resting the last 2 weeks. So you can always prop your arm on your thigh. If the block is kind of too low, just give yourself more space. It's always the answer. Give yourself more space until you can create that space in another way. So going to that side plank, we'll place that right hand. Extend the left leg. You're on the instep of the foot. The outer foot is off the floor. Try to roll the top shoulder back. As you feel ready, extending the left arm. Creating so much spaciousness in your left side body. And trying to draw gently the outer skirting of the left foot toward the floor. Bringing the left ear toward the left inner arm. 3 more breaths. Good. And now this time we're turning toward the floor to exit. You can start to come onto your knees, take them wide, and come into child's pose. Arms anywhere that is restful here. They can be extended, they can be bent elbows, propping the forehead with your fists or hands. Just take a few moments to release all effort and just kind of feel the effects of what you just did in your body. We're going to come up to standing by way of downward facing dog. We're not holding it very long, so if you'd like to just come up to standing, you can always do that. But clear your mat so that you won't be tripped up on anything. And as you're ready, coming into downward facing dog. Giving your legs a chance to really extend and open. And then tiptoe the feet toward the wrists. And we'll come into more passive Uttanasana just to keep the legs kind of elongating. It's really going to help us for the next half of the class. So grab your elbows, dangle freely. Let the head really dangle from the spine. The big heavy ball. Maybe shake it a little bit or rock it. You might have to bend your knees, but keep opening the backs of the knees. Keep working toward greater extension in the legs. Change the crossing of the arms. And now just start to swing slowly from side to side. This kind of accesses the legs individually, gives us a little bit of a deeper stretch when we move our weight like this. You might go slowly. You might just kind of be a little quicker about it. Your body is very intuitive, so just kind of finding the right rhythm for you. When you're ready, just kind of slowly drift back to center and drop the hands. Bend the knees, grab your hips, help yourself up. And we'll come into standing mountain pose. So really try to join your legs and feet today. It is a challenge for the balance sometimes, but that being said, if it's really not healthy for the pose, separate the feet. Try to grow the distance between the big toes and small toes. Reach the heels back to spread the length of the feet. And again, just like we've talked about over the last few weeks, balance your feet. Shoulders in line with hips. Take a moment with your palms really facing as forward as they can be to wind the inner upper arms out and to spread the chest. Big, heavy dinosaur tail for a tailbone. And now keeping the upper arms, just rotate from the elbows to the fingertips, letting the palms face back toward the thighs. Close your eyes. And just try to feel or sense the feet are rooting out into the floor. We're lifting a little bit taller through the crown. And once we tap into that verticality, then also the spreading. The chest, the abdomen, sacrum, the mid and upper back. Spreading across the forehead. Legs are firm. Feet are balanced, they're not clinging, they're responsive. Tapping into all the surface area. Good. And now let your eyes open and just release those efforts. Shake the legs, kick the legs, shake the arms, shake the fingers. We're gonna do tree pose. So all of these poses we're about to do, option to use a chair as opposed to a block. Tree pose doesn't need a block, but if you want a stabilizing chair in front of you, use it, because what we're looking for here is to balance in a way that is steady, in a way that we feel centered inside of ourselves and not where we're clinging and just waiting for it to end. So if that means you're using a chair, then you're going to have a chair in front of you for support. Otherwise, tree pose, freestanding. And grab your chair if you're going to use one. From the mountain position, take your right heel against your right ankle. And just notice what happened as soon as you take one foot off the floor. Things shift off to the left. Move your outer left hip bone to midline. Let the inner thigh of your left leg be a continuation of your spine. Hands on your hips. Just like that gate pose, we're doing a lot of effort to keep rolling the right buttock toward the front body and magnetizing the knee back. Hip points on the same plane. If you're able to maintain the integrity, step the foot up the leg, either right below the knee, alongside the inner lower leg, or above the knee. Eventually the heel goes into the upper inner thigh. Once you've made that transition, then you'll bring the hands in front of the heart center and pick a gaze that's just straight out in front of your eye line on the horizon. And as you anchor to some object that gives us a lot of steadiness, we have kind of full body awareness right now. And then maybe you get that instinct that the energy line can continue up without distorting or kind of breaking down the integrity of the pose. So like I often say, not my quote, Iyengar's quote, don't rob the instinct of the body for the glory of the pose. So if the arms go up and the pose kind of starts to disintegrate, maybe take the hands back to the heart center or the hips. Good. And slowly reversing your steps back out. So tree pose is a great one to do when you're brushing your teeth, because brushing our teeth gets boring, I think. So something you can do to just kind of keep working on balance. So we're going to try side two, could be different. Remind yourself of that. Start very basically with some support, maybe the chair. Draw the outer right hip bone in. Pin the elbows in so your chest is lifted and spread. Move the tailbone in. Maybe stepping up the leg, maybe deciding to keep the toes on the ground. And it should be as much of your leg into your foot as it is foot into your leg if you are toes off the ground. Waiting for the inner cueing to move the hand position. Sometimes it doesn't come, we don't force it. Maybe it's best to keep your hands on the chair or the hips today. Maybe the arms go up, maybe they don't. So the irony of these poses is they look so stable and static, and there's so much movement going on. And what's really important is our response to all those little micro movements. So I'm gonna kind of prove that right now. So let's come out of the pose slowly. Give your legs a chance to just kind of shake free any tension or fatigue. And now we're going to join those feet again. We're going to come back to mountain with eyes closed. Joining the feet, but if you need to, separate your heels. You want to see your second toes really lining up with the heels. Shoulders in line with hips. Close the eyes. Coming back to mountain pose. So I want to kind of have you notice a circular pattern happening of your weight bearing over the soles of the feet. It's like we are gently moving a little circular pattern. And I love the idea of, we've all kind of probably seen in a garden, how the pea wraps some sort of a straight central axis to climb. So we circle our way to climbing, we circle our way to straightness. It's very ironic. But I just want you to feel how the body has its own natural kind of circular pattern. And think about your movement kind of wrapping your own central axis. Hugging it, circling it, staying close to it, close to that centered through line in the body, that plumb line. And even if you can't feel the circular motion, you could imagine it. For me, it's clockwise. I'm always curious if it's clockwise for everybody. And if we went to Australia, would it be clockwise? I still want to know. So just taking another breath or two. And then as you're ready, open your eyes, shake your legs out, shake your feet out. Triangle and half moon pose is next. So we're going to, again, either use the seat of a chair if you need a little more space today for stability. Otherwise, you're going to place your tall block to the right back corner of the mat. Once you've placed your tall block to the right back corner of the mat, jump or step your feet up, nice and wide. And then take your hips, rotating from the root of the right thigh, pointing the toes out, toeing in with the left toes, but keep your hips square. So this is a lateral pose. The legs move to the sides of the body. Even and long torso length, especially when we go sideways. We want to keep that. Remember, the side plank kind of helped us inform the body of that. Take the arms up, open the arms, and rotate elbows to fingertips. Big in-breath. Exhale, extending to the right. Anchor into your back heel and keep the right side body long. And try to keep the torso moving in line with the space established between the feet. It does like to pitch forward, so try to take the head back to compensate. Grounding the hand on the seat of the chair or the block. As you stack arm over arm, and if your shoulder doesn't like that, you can always grab the hip and work the chest open without the arm extended up. The exit point for the line of energy would be the shoulder in that case. If the arm goes up, great. Good. Don't dunk the crown. Most of you look really good. Keep drawing that right side body across the floor. Good. So I want you to transition into half moon with moving at the speed of presence. So we don't need to be synchronized here. First step is to bring the hand down to the hip if the arm was up, and then to begin to bend the right knee, but keep the kneecap pointing and lining up with the toes. Don't let it pitch in. Step the block forward. Step in with your left foot. Keep your hips facing out, not toward the floor. And on an exhale, you're going to begin to launch the pose, bringing that left leg up. Thinking about your Padangustasana where you took the leg out sideways, opened it up, and how important the work really was of, right, in this case, the left leg. Remember, we had to do so much of getting that left shoulder back to the floor. In this case, left shoulder has to go back. The left hip has to go to the floor. In this case, toward the wall behind you. Good. Hand back to the hip. You guys look awesome. Reverse those steps and come back down. Plant your foot, bring your block with you. Come back to triangle pose just for a moment. Again, this can be a big transition, so you need to look down first and help yourself up that way. You can do that. Otherwise, use a big inhale. Use lines of extension to bring you up. Toes forward, jumper step back in. And just resting in Tadasana. So this class is always so short that I don't have time to do everything, but to practice half moon pose, do it against a wall. We don't all have a wall set up right now, but it's a really wonderful way to practice the pose so you have utmost support, and it also helps you be aware of the top shoulder coming back and touching something, and it puts you in alignment with a lot of support. So that's one way to kind of work on it. Also, even if you don't need it, use the chair from time to time to feel the spaciousness of the pose, so that we're not kind of learning a pose that's a little distorted or not in integrity. So block or chair is going to be to the left. As you're ready, you can jump or step out, nice and wide. Take hold of your hips and set your legs up. So turning the left toes out, right toes in, but turning those hips to point back to the broad side of the mat. Take the arms up and open, revolving elbows to fingertips. In breath here, exhale, extend left. Take the hand out of the chair seat or the block, aligning the wrist under the shoulder. You have to do that work of rolling that left buttock under or toward the front body. Guide the right hip back. Again, if the arm doesn't go up comfortably, take hold of the hip and work that way. Consider the crown of your head. We have the privilege of being able to see ourselves on Zoom. So from time to time, see, is the crown really lining up with the spine, or is it kind of dunking a little bit? And every time you breathe in, spread the left side body. So a very thoughtful, moving at the speed of presence transition into Ardha Chandrasana, balancing half moon. Hand comes to the hip, left knee bends and tracks with the toes. Left block steps forward where it approximately will go to be under the shoulder when you come into the pose. Step in with the right foot, and on an exhalation, extend the right leg. Take your time with it. Sense what needs to happen. Sense how alignment brings stability. If something's misaligned, that's probably part of the reason the stability isn't coming. Reach out through that back heel. Really straighten your standing leg. Maybe the arm goes up, maybe it doesn't. Nice. Hand can return to the hip. Left knee bends, right foot steps back down, bring the block back in, return to Utthita Trikonasana, extended triangle. And then strongly use an in-breath or point towards the floor to come out, whatever your body needs. Toes in, and jump or step the feet back together. Close the eyes. Just noticing over the course of a practice, the steadiness of the body starts to come, it starts to show up. That steadiness eventually allows us to feel like we're standing in Savasana after enough practice. So the next and last set is going to be Warrior 1 into Warrior 3. And again, I suggest using a chair seat if you want a little more support and space today, chair seat. Otherwise, 2 blocks at the right end of the mat. I recommend the tall setting on each corner. Go ahead and jump or step out as you're ready. Taking the hips, turning the right toes out, left toes way in, and pointing your hips now at the blocks. Raise the arms. On an exhale, take the knee above the right ankle. Try to keep the tailbone really moving in to keep the lumbar spine long. Pivot off your back heel. Without changing anything else, come off the back heel so the heel lines up with the toes and the heel's off the floor. Like you're holding a box in your hands. Keep the arms extended. Extend the torso forward over that right thigh. Either touch your chair seat or your blocks. And on an exhalation, step forward and lift the left leg. Toes should point down. You have to really pull up on the standing leg and roll down on that aerial leg outer hip to equalize. You might sunbird this if you want to just experiment. Take the right arm forward. You might be able to take both arms forward. Good. Place the hand again or both hands. Step back down with the back leg. Inhale, come back through warrior 1. And then next inhale, extend the right leg and pivot to the broad side of the mat. Jump or step back in. Okay. I feel like I'm doing hot yoga. My kids must have turned the heat up. Okay, so we're gonna do the other side. When you're ready, you can really step the feet wide for warrior 1 and 3 is best. Take the hips, revolving from the root of the thigh, toeing way in with the right toes, pointing the hips squarely. Think about the pane of glass again, even hip points. Tailbone moves in, lumbar is long, arms go up. Exhale, take the knee above the ankle without distorting the torso. Keep the chest lifted and spread. Without disturbing the pose, pivot off the back heel. Extend over the front thigh. And take the blocks or the chair seat right under the shoulder line. Exhale, extend up with the right leg. Try to equalize what's happening with one heavy standing leg, one floating aerial leg. It'll give some buoyancy to the heavy leg, give some false weight to the outer right hip. Maybe take that left arm forward. Maybe taking both arms forward. Take your block or blocks if you took the hand away, or chair. Step back with the right foot. Keep the knee bent. You might plant that back right foot again. Sweep the arms up, warrior 1. And inhale to open wide. Jump or step back in. Good. Separate your feet. Extend your arms up and grab your elbows. And fold forward and just hang freely. And separate the hands, and you're going to find your way down to the floor onto your back. We're starting to wind down and prepare for Savasana. So we're going to start with a twist. So just take a moment to arrange your body. Your knees are bent, lift your hips, try to move the flesh of the buttocks away so it's not scrunched up. It's moving from the upper buttock towards the lower buttock. And then spread your arms out to each side. Palms are down. We'll extend the right leg up just to cross it over the left leg. And then lift your hips high enough you can tuck your left hip to center, the right hip will come above, and the knees will start to fall off to the left. Left hand can just kind of place over that top leg or knee to keep the legs kind of secure. And either look toward the ceiling or to the right. And if your shoulder is not ready for this, again, you can just drape the hand over the side body by bending the elbow. There's going to be shifting and settling in the body. Try not to limit that. Just let the body shift and settle breath by breath. It's going to continue to keep shifting and settling. Be passive with your effort here. You just want to kind of surrender to the shape and the breath at this point. Now help yourself onto your back and untangle your legs, lift your hips, realign your torso, your hips, your shoulders, your head. Spread your arms again if they need to be respread, and then extend the left leg just to cross it over the right. Lifting your hips enough, you can slide the right hip to the left, starting to allow the hips to stack, the legs to fall to the right hand holding them in place. The left arm stays extended or hand to the side waist, and the gaze is up or to the left. My mom asked if there's anything she could do yoga-wise from her hospital bed and to get things moving. I said, do a twist. She said, I don't think they want me to twist. I said, do a gentle twist. And twists are really good for our digestion and keeping things moving. Also, so good for the spine. Also, if you have no other time, I say twists are the most effective single thing you can do in yoga. So this is going to be it before Savasana. So as you come back to center, just kind of notice what the body might be requesting. Maybe lift the feet and take a quick supine child. You might massage your sacrum, circling your knees. You might separate the knees and just give the groins one last big kind of stretch, your hips one last big stretch. You might hook your big toes with your fingers and happy baby a little bit. So just kind of doing the needful here, because of course we want a really surrendered physical body. We don't want something nagging at us or asking to be moved. I'm just kind of paying attention to all those things right now. And then as you're ready, you can start to set up for final resting pose. Give your arms enough distance from the torso that your inner arms don't touch the outer torso. Palms are face up. Shoulder blades are kind of lifting up toward the chest. The shoulders are descending into the floor. Your neck is long. Your feet are separated a little wider than your hips. Completely passive in your legs. Just start your pose by identifying the heaviest parts. And rather than meeting the floor, let these parts of yourself sink into the floor. So there's no resistance. With that, each passing exhalation, take those little roots deeper into the floor. Let the flesh of your face descend from the forehead all the way to the chin. Let your mouth, the cavity of the mouth, just become a little bit fuller. Jaw relaxed, the throat soft, the tongue surrendered all the way back to its root. Maybe even allowing your tongue to take up more room inside of your mouth. The teeth resting in their gums. Bring some attention to the abdomen. We do a lot of unnecessary holding and contracting and hardening here. See if you can bring a little more freedom in the belly, softness, suppleness, expansiveness. Imagine the flesh of your legs falling away from the bones. Just sense the body breathing on its own. Your role here as a passive witness to the here and now experience. This pose, Savasana, is to the brain what sleep is to the body. Conscious awareness, passive body, presence. As things come up, pass through the mind, notice any resistance. Just let those thoughts pass through, just like little white puffy clouds drifting across the sky. Each one unique. Just a very small amount of effort starting to deepen your breaths. Not only drawing the breath up the body, but spreading it across. Extension and expansion of breath. You might imagine your breath is some color, your favorite color. And as you breathe in, you're filling the body with that color. And as you exhale, you're completely emptying the body of that color. Draining it fully. So normally we only breathe with 50% lung capacity. So give yourself a chance to just take a nice big breath here. And fully let the breath go. And then let the breath be. Start to invite movements, letting the fingers wiggle, the toes, maybe the wrists, ankles. At some point, letting your hands move on to your torso somewhere. Sliding the soles of your feet onto the floor by bending your knees. And then gently easing to either side. Taking a few moments on your side. So the beauty is we keep that heightened awareness for hours after a practice. As we start to reanimate ourselves, we'll find your way gently to seated. Once you're seated, feel tall, feel spacious, feel aligned, and join the hands together in front of the heart. Soften the face by gently lifting the corners of the mouth up. Thank yourself for your practice today. Let go of any attachment to the outcome of the practice. All practice is good practice. Let's take a big breath in through the nose. Let it go. From the place within me that I know to be divine, honor that place within each of you. Namaste. Thank you all for being here. Happy Monday. See some of you on Wednesday and some of you on Friday. Take good care. Bye, everyone.